The feeling of being financially behind isn't always a fact. It is a climate, a persistent, low-pressure system in your mind, where comparisons gather like clouds, and the forecast is a perpetual sense of lack. This sensation lingers regardless of your actual progress, because it is not really about money. It is about a story you have been told, and have since internalized, about where you are supposed to be. That story is written on a timeline, a cultural and personal script for achievement. Finish school by this age, advance your career by that milestone, own a home, accumulate a specific number, all by a socially agreed-upon schedule. When your reality deviates from this invisible chronology, the feeling of being behind sets in. But this timeline is a fiction. It is a composite of outdated benchmarks, curated highlights from others' lives, and arbitrary societal expectations. Your nervous system, however, reacts to the deviation as if it were a genuine threat. The anxiety you feel is the dissonance between your unique path and a monolithic story you never consciously agreed to follow. This feeling is amplified by a psychological mechanism known as reference anxiety. You are not comparing yourself to an average or to your past self. You are comparing your internal, private reality, with all its doubts, compromises, and unseen struggles, to the external, polished facade of others. You compare your Chapter 3 to someone else's Chapter 20, or to a carefully edited highlight reel designed to project completion. Your mind takes these curated outcomes as the baseline, making your own journey feel like a deficit. The playing field you perceive is an illusion, but the feeling of losing on it is profoundly real. At its core, this sense of lateness is often entangled with shame. Money becomes a proxy for competence, adulthood, and moral worth. To feel behind financially can subtly translate into a belief that you are behind as a person, that you are less disciplined, less intelligent, or less capable than you should be. This shame triggers a desire to hide, to avoid the topic entirely, which only isolates you further and allows the distorted comparisons to grow louder in the silence. It creates a cycle where the emotion itself becomes the obstacle, freezing the very progress you long for. There is also a deeper, more uncomfortable layer. For some, the identity of being behind can serve a hidden purpose. It can be a protective narrative. If you are perpetually behind, then you are never truly responsible for your own potential. The finish line is always moved, so you are never called to fully step into the arena of your own capabilities. It is safer to chase than to arrive. This narrative shields you from the risk of true failure, or even the vulnerability of defining what success actually means to you, beyond the borrowed metrics. The feeling of being behind, therefore, becomes a familiar companion, a story that excuses you from writing a more demanding one. The constant chase also robs you of your present. Your financial life becomes a state of perpetual preparation for a future where you will finally be caught up. This means you cannot authorize satisfaction, security, or even simple acknowledgement of your current efforts. You condition your peace on a destination that, by the nature of this anxiety, will always recede. You are running a race where the finish line is painted on the horizon, moving backward as you move forward. So the truth is this: the feeling of being financially behind is rarely a measurement of your actual position. It is the symptom of living in a distorted psychological time zone, where you are judging your three-dimensional life against a two-dimensional map. That uncomfortable feeling is not your intuition telling you to hurry. It is the friction of an old, borrowed story grinding against the reality of your unique path. And every time you feel that familiar pang of not being enough, of not having enough time, you are not reading your bank statement. You are reading from script you didn't write, for a role you were never meant to play.